just very pleased to present Miss Carla Phillip and the Youth Symphony Program String Ensemble.
Right when she says that it's nice that it's not snowing, but it is raining. And the temperature has changed about 30 degrees since yesterday. And these instruments, they don't do well when it does that. So if you'll give me just a moment, we have a couple of different interpretations of D's in the cello. So let me see if we can get them all on the same pitch. I believe we have, at least for the next couple of minutes anyway, everybody in tune. That doesn't mean necessarily that it will stay that way for the duration, but we'll hope so. That last piece you heard was called Bohemian Stomp, and as is apparent by the last three notes in the piece that there really is a stomp. It is a Ukrainian folk song. Miss Dakow's family is originally from the Ukraine. And so she does some interesting music. She doesn't write a lot of her, in fact, I don't know of any original compositions by her. But what she does do is take well-known classical pieces and make them accessible for student orchestras. And they're extremely well done, and they're extremely true to the original. And then she takes these folk songs, but again, folk songs that exist, and she harmonizes them and makes them playable by a young group. So that's Bohemian Stomp. And the next one we're going to play is called Dance in D. No, I'm sorry, I take that back. It was my fault. It's Ode to Joy, which the words are from a poem by Schiller, made most famous because Beethoven in his Ninth Symphony used this chorale, this chorus, as part of the fourth movement of the symphony. And what is significant about this, other than it being Beethoven's last symphony, and he was completely deaf when he wrote it, no one before had ever had the nerve to combine a choir and an orchestra in a symphony. That was just unheard of. And in fact, I have a hard time remembering that Beethoven is actually technically a classical composer, because I tend to think of him as a romantic composer. Because what he did is he took all the classical rules and he broke them. And so the other composers of his time just thought he was terribly radical. And apparently it was very hard to work with because I think he was a very angry man because he couldn't hear. And if you're a composer and a musician, not hearing is a drawback. So we're going to play this a little arrangement of Ode to Joy. Some of you may know it from church as Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. This next piece, Dance in D, when somebody says it's like dance in D or dance in G or dance in F, that's what key the piece is in. And to translate that, it tells you what scale the piece is built around. And I know that those of you that have children in this group have heard them practicing scales, because scales are the building block on which all pieces are built. All right, so this is Dance in D, and it's in the key of D major. And it correlates with a book called All for Strings, Book 1. And so what they do is they get composers to write pieces specifically to go along with the skills as they go through this book. Now, this book is still, I think, in print, but I have to tell you, it's one of the first books that I used in the classroom, and that makes it late 20th century. All right, so I'm going to admit that. And it wasn't even close. Okay, it wasn't even close to the end of the century. So this is Dance in D, a little promenade, a little fun. Ukraine for our last piece, and again, it's arranged by Sandra Dachau. The piece is called Flirtation, and is what we call programmatic music. And programmatic music simply means there's a story there. And this is a story of a young woman who goes to the well daily to draw the water, as it's still done in many of these little villages in Eastern Europe. And of course, while she's there, this young man spots her, and he thinks she's quite awesome. So he kind of moseys his way up, because, you know, you can't just walk up and talk to a girl, you know. So they have this little hesitant conversation, and they get to know each other a little better, and they talk a little more, and they talk a little more. And as they talk, they get a little more excited, until off they go at the end. And you'll hear the excitement build. I won't even have to tell you how.